The grand celestial assembly hall stretched for miles in every direction, a massive structure floating in the void of space near the galactic core. Inside, representatives from 847 different species gathered under a dome that showed the stars themselves. Some floated in tanks of liquid methane. Others stood on platforms adjusted for different gravity. A few existed as pure energy, contained in shimmering fields. They had come to witness something most considered a joke. Ambassador Taeyan Kim stood before them all, wearing a simple black suit that seemed primitive compared to the exotic forms around him. He was 62 years old, the gray hair and calm eyes that had seen countless negotiations on Earth. Behind him stood Dr. Hannah Yoon, a xenobiology specialist, clutching her tablet nervously, and Commander Dae-Won Park, whose military uniform seemed almost defiant in this place of ancient power. Taeyong raised his hand for attention. The chamber did not quiet immediately. Thousands of beings continued their conversations, treating the human delegation like background noise. He waited. Patience was something humans understood well. Finally, Chief Arbiter, a floating geometric shape that pulsed with purple light, acknowledged him. The translation device in Taeyong's ear crackled to life. The delegation from Earth may present their petition. Taeyong took a breath. Honored members of the Galactic Coalition, humanity comes before you today to request full membership status with equal voting rights. We have achieved faster-than-light travel. We have established colonies on 17 worlds. We have studied your laws and principles. We wish to join you as equals in governing this galaxy we all share. The response was not what he hoped for, though it was exactly what he expected: laughter. It started with a high-pitched whistling from the Keltharian section, a sound their hive mind made when amused. Then came the deep rumbling from the Vryn Empire's crystalline representative, being named Thraxis, who towered 12 feet tall and glowed with inner light. Within seconds, the entire assembly had erupted in various forms of laughter. Some species flashed colors. Others emitted chemical signals that the translation system rendered as mockery. A few simply made sounds that transcended language. Thraxis stepped forward, its crystalline body refracting light into rainbow patterns across the floor. Equals. His voice boomed through the chamber. Your species discovered fire barely 10,000 of your years ago. We Vryn have explored the stars for 3 million years. The Luminarchs predate your sun itself. And you ask for equality? A representative from the Keltharian hive spoke next, its voice a chorus of hundreds speaking as one. Your neural architecture is inefficient. You waste processing power on emotions and individual thought. Your bodies are fragile. Your lifespans are brief. You fight among yourselves constantly. Why should we consider you anything more than children playing with toys too dangerous for them? Dr. Hannah Yoon's hand tightened on her tablet. Commander Dae-Won Park's jaw clenched. But Taeyong remained still, his face neutral, though his eyes were recording everything. One of the Luminarchs spoke, its ancient voice carrying weight that made the air itself feel heavy. The Luminarchs were beings of pure energy who had existed since the early universe. Humanity is too violent, too short-lived, too divided. You have not earned the right to stand among us. Perhaps in another 100,000 years, you will be ready. If you survive that long, more laughter followed. The Chief Arbiter raised a limb for silence. The Coalition has heard the human petition. We shall vote on their request. Taejong knew what was coming. They all did. The vote was not about membership. It was about how badly humanity would be rejected. The results appeared on holographic displays throughout the chamber. Of 847 species, only 3 voted to grant humanity full membership. 2 of them were species so small and powerless that their votes meant nothing. The third was a species that humanity had helped during a natural disaster on their homeworld. 844 species voted against. The Chief Arbiter's voice was almost gentle. The Coalition grants humanity probationary observer status. You may attend sessions. You may not vote. You may not propose legislation. You may not serve on councils. You will be reevaluated in 1,000 years. 1,000 years. Several human lifetimes. It might as well have been never. Thraxis approached the human delegation. his crystalline face somehow conveying smug satisfaction. You should be grateful we allow you even this much. Most species wait 10,000 years for observer status. We are being quite generous. Taeyang bowed slightly, a gesture of diplomatic courtesy that cost him nothing. The human race thanks the coalition for its consideration. We will prove ourselves worthy of your respect. I doubt it, Thoraxis said, and walked away. The session ended. As the various species departed, many passed by the human delegation with what could only be described as pity. Some looked at them the way one might look at a pet that tried to sit at the dinner table. Others simply ignored them entirely. Commander Day One Park spoke through clenched teeth as they walked back to their shuttle. They treated us like insects. Oh, worse. Dr. Hannah Yoon said. They treated us like we were beneath insects. Like we were a joke they would forget by tomorrow. Taeyang said nothing until they were alone in the shuttle, heading back toward the quantum gate that would take them home to Earth. Only then did he allow himself to smile. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a man who had just been given the most valuable gift in the universe. What are you smiling about? Day One asked. They underestimated us, Taeyang said simply. Every single one of them looked at humanity and decided we were not a threat, not a concern, not even worth watching carefully. How is that good? Hannah asked. Because now they will not see us coming. Taeyang pulled up his tablet and began composing a message to the United Nations Security Council. He included video recordings of every moment of mockery, every dismissive comment, every laugh. He attached the vote results. Then he wrote 3 sentences that would change human history. They have given us observer status. They will ignore us for centuries. We have 10 years to become something they cannot ignore. The message sent through quantum communication, reaching Earth instantly. Within hours, every nation on Earth had seen the video of humanity's humiliation. The Great Humiliation, they would call it later. The day the galaxy laughed at the human race. But Taeyang had been in enough negotiations to know a simple truth. The person who underestimates you has already lost. They just do not know it yet. As the shuttle approached the quantum gate, Taeyang looked at his companions. Record everything we saw. Every species representative. Every technology. Every weakness in their security. Every gap in their formations. You are talking about war, Day One said quietly. No, Taeyang replied. I am talking about survival. I am talking about respect. I am talking about showing 847 species that laughing at humanity is the biggest mistake they ever made. The shuttle passed through the gate and they began their journey home. Behind them, the Grand Celestial Assembly continued its business, already forgetting about the primitive humans, who had wasted their time with delusions of equality. They would remember soon enough. 10 years. That was all humanity needed. 10 years of being ignored. 10 years of being dismissed. 10 years to build something the galaxy had never seen before. The laughter would stop. Taeyang would make sure of it. The video played on every screen across Earth. Billions of people watched as the galaxy laughed at them. They watched Thoraxis call humanity children. They watched the Luminarchs dismiss human civilization as too brief to matter. They watched 844 species vote to reject them. The reaction was not what anyone expected. There were no riots, no protests, no angry speeches about alien arrogance. Instead, something quieter and far more dangerous happened. Humanity got angry in the way that humans do best. They got organized. 3 months after the Great Humiliation, every nation on Earth sent representatives to Geneva. The meeting was secret. No media. No public announcements. Just leaders and scientists and military commanders sitting in a room discussing one question. How do we make them stop laughing? Director Gi Woo-choi stood at the head of the table. She was 45 years old, a former head of South Korea's technology development program, now chosen to lead something unprecedented. The Terran Advancement Initiative, a program that would have access to resources from every nation, every corporation, every research facility on Earth and beyond. We have 10 years, she said simply. Maybe less. The galaxy thinks we are harmless. They think we will take centuries to advance. We will prove them wrong. But we must work in complete secrecy. A general from the United States leaned forward. What is the goal? Build weapons? Build ships. Everything, Jiwoo replied. We build everything. Better engines. Better weapons. Better defenses. Better communication. We take every advantage we have and we exploit it. What advantages? A scientist from India asked. They have millions of years of advancement. What do we have? Dr. Sungmin Lee stood up. He was a quantum physicist who had spent the last decade studying the alien technology that Earth had managed to acquire through trade. We have what they lost, he said. Adaptability. The Vrin evolved in high-gravity environments. Their technology is built for strength and durability, but it is slow to change. The Keltharians are a hive mind. They think efficiently, but they cannot think creatively. Every species we've studied is specialized. They evolve for specific environments and specific problems. We humans evolved to adapt to anything. He pulled up a holographic display showing human brain scans next to alien neural structures. Look at this. The Keltharians called our brains inefficient. They were right. Our brains are inefficient, but that inefficiency is what lets us be creative. We can think of solutions that would never occur to a mind optimized for pure logic. We dream, we imagine, we make leaps of intuition that no computer can model. You nodded. We also have another advantage. We are not afraid to fail. Watch any alien species and you see the same pattern. They perfect a technology over thousands of years. They make it flawless. Then they stop improving it because it is already perfect. Humans do not work that way. We build something good enough. We test it. It fails. We fix it. We test again. We iterate faster than any species in the galaxy. Over the next year, the Terran Advancement Initiative became the largest secret project in human history. Money flowed from every nation. Scientists who had been rivals became partners. Military forces that had once prepared to fight each other now trained together. The old borders and conflicts did not disappear, but they became secondary to one goal, proving humanity belonged among the stars. On the moon. Construction began on research facilities hidden in craters on the far side. Mars colonies expanded underground, building manufacturing plants that no satellite could detect. Europa's ice became a shield for shipyards that worked 24 hours a day. Every human in space understood the mission. Build in secret. Build quickly. Build something the galaxy had never seen. Captain Myung Kong sat in the cockpit of an experimental fighter, her hands steady on controls that human engineers had designed by studying and improving on Vrin technology. The ship was small, barely larger than ancient Earth jets, but it moved in ways that should have been impossible. Test run 17, she said into her com. Beginning acceleration sequence. The ship shot forward. G-forces pressed her into the seat despite the inertial dampeners. Behind her, on the hidden lunar facility, engineers watched as their fighter exceeded the speed of standard Vrin patrol craft by 30%. She is pushing too hard, one engineer said nervously. No, another replied. She is showing us what humans can handle. The Vrin build their ships for their biology. We build ours for ours. Myung pulled the ship through a turn that would have torn a Vrin craft apart. Human bodies could endure more stress with the right support systems. Human reflexes, honed by millions of years of hunting and fighting, could react faster than the computer-assisted responses of species that had not known predation for eons. Test complete, Myung reported, her voice steady, despite having just pulled 8 Gs. This design works. Build more. We built more. Engineer Jae-hyun Beek worked in a facility beneath Seoul, carefully taking apart alien drones that Earth had purchased as industrial equipment. The galaxy had no idea that every piece of technology they sold to humans was being studied, reverse-engineered, and improved upon.
Look at this,
he told his team, holding up a circuit board that used quantum processing. The Vern used this for navigation. It is precise and reliable, but it is rigid. It can only process problems it was designed for. Our approach is different. He showed them a human-designed quantum processor. It was less elegant, messier, but it could adapt to new problems. Theirs is a classical music performance. Perfect, but unchanging. Ours is jazz. We improvise. The human processors were not as powerful in raw calculation, but they could handle unexpected situations. In a fight that meant everything, Dr. Sungmin Lee made the breakthrough in year 3. He was studying faster-than-light communication, trying to understand how the galaxy's quantum entanglement networks functioned. The alien systems were sophisticated but limited by their conservative design philosophy. What if we do not try to make it perfect? He said to his research team. What if we make it good enough, but flexible? They built a communication system that could adapt its quantum frequencies in real time, allowing for clearer signals over longer distances. When they tested it, the human system outperformed galactic standard by 40%. More importantly, it was cheaper to build and easier to repair. Gu Choi reviewed the progress reports in her office, hidden deep beneath Geneva. 3 years had passed since the Great Humiliation. On the surface, Earth appeared to be struggling with its new technologies, exactly as the galaxy expected. Trade continued normally. Human diplomats attended coalition sessions as observers, politely sitting in the back and asking naive questions. But beneath the surface, humanity was changing at a speed the galaxy had not seen in millions of years. Propulsion systems are ahead of schedule, she read. Weapons development has exceeded expectations. Ship construction is at 60% of Phase 1 targets. Intelligence networks report no suspicion from coalition observers. She allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy was not watching because they did not think there was anything to see. They looked at humanity and saw what they expected. A primitive species slowly learning to use technology they barely understood. They did not see the manufacturing plants on Mars producing hull platings stronger than Vrin crystal steel. They did not see the Europa shipyards assembling weapons that would make the ancient luminarchs reconsider their dismissal. They did not see thousands of the brightest human minds working together with a unity born from shared humiliation. The galaxy had given humanity one gift. They had given them a reason to unite. Every human from every nation remembered watching the video of that assembly. They remembered the laughter. They remembered being told they would never be equals. That memory fueled everything in orbit around Neptune. Testing facility fired the first human-designed energy weapon. It was based on Vrin plasma technology, but modified using principles the Vrin had declared theoretically impossible. The beam cut through the target asteroid in half the time a Vrin weapon would need. On Earth, medical researchers worked with xenobiology, data to develop treatments for diseases that affected not just humans but other species. If they could cure what aliens called incurable, it would prove human science was not primitive. In every field the pattern repeated. Study alien technology. Find the assumption that limited it. Break that assumption. Build something better. 3 years down. 7 to go. Jiwoo closed the reports and looked at the display on her wall. It showed a countdown. 10 years until humanity made their next petition to the Galactic Coalition. But that petition would not be a request. It would be a statement. They laughed at us, she thought. Let them laugh while they can. The merchant ship Indomitable Spirit drifted through the frontier sectors, a region of space where the Vrin Empire's territory bordered the Keltharian Hive's domain. It was disputed space, dangerous space, where pirates and raiders hunted for easy prey. The ship's hull showed wear and damage from what appeared to be hard use in rough trade routes. Captain Bora Shin sat in the command chair, watching her displays with casual attention. To any observer, she looked like a tired merchant captain, trying to make a living in dangerous territory. She was 42 years old, with short hair and calm hands. Her crew moved around the bridge with practiced ease. No one watching would guess that Indomitable Spirit was one of 12 disguised warships that Earth had deployed throughout the galaxy. No one would guess that every member of her crew was military, trained in combat tactics that no alien species had seen before. Attack, Lieutenant Hyanwu, Nam said from the tactical station. 3 ships dropping out of FTL. Varin configuration. Pirates, most likely. No. Biora smiled slightly. Perfect. Let them come. The pirate ships were exactly what intelligence predicted. The Vryn Empire controlled vast territory, but could not patrol it all. Criminal elements operated freely in the frontier, preying on weak targets. The pirates had been watching human merchant ships for months, noting their poor defenses and valuable cargoes. Earth's intelligence division made sure the pirates had plenty of information about vulnerable human vessels. The lead pirate ship opened communication. The Vryn captain appeared on screen, his crystalline body gleaming with confidence. Human vessel, cut your engines. Transfer your cargo, and you will not be harmed. Resist, and we will take what we want from your debris. Biora nodded slowly, as if frightened. Please, we are just merchants. We will comply. Wise decision, the Vryn captain said, and cut the connection. The three pirate ships moved into position, forming a triangle around the indomitable spirit. It was standard Vryn tactical doctrine surrounding the prey to prevent escape. They had used this formation for millions of years. It had never failed. Hyanwu looked at his captain. They are in position. All ships reporting ready, another officer added. Awaiting your order. Let them get comfortable. Let them think they had one. The pirates were scanning the human ship now, measuring its defenses, cataloging its cargo. They would be surprised to find the holds were nearly empty, except for decoy containers. They would be even more surprised when the holds opened. Execute, Biora said quietly. The indomitable spirit stopped pretending. Panels along the hull slid open, revealing weapon batteries that should not exist on a merchant vessel. The ship's engines, which had been running at minimal power, suddenly blazed with energy that exceeded anything the Vryn pirates had in their database. The human ship did not try to run. It attacked. Energy weapons, designed from studying Vryn plasma technology, but improved with human innovation, lanced out at all three pirate ships simultaneously. The beams moved faster than Vryn computers had calculated was possible. They hit shields that were not prepared for that. Level of power, the first pirate ship's shields collapsed in under 2 seconds. The beam punched through the hull, specifically targeting the engine core. The ship went dark. The second pirate ship tried to return fire, but human point defense systems shot down their plasma bolts with precision that seemed impossible. Vryn targeting computers were sophisticated, but they calculated based on known physics. Human systems, built around adaptive algorithms that Dr. Yoonji Han had developed, did not just calculate. They learned. They predicted. They adapted faster than the enemy could adjust. The second ship lost its weapons array, then its engines. It drifted, helpless. The third pirate captain was smart enough to try running. His ship turned hard, engines burning at maximum as he tried to reach FTL jump distance. He would have made it against Vryn pursuit ships. He did not make it against human ones. The indomitable Spirit's engines pushed the ship forward at speeds that made the Vryn technology look slow. Within 30 seconds, the human ship was alongside the fleeing pirate. One more beam carefully aimed, and the third ship was as disabled as its companions. Total engagement time: 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Biora opened communication to all three pirate vessels. This is Captain Biora Shin of the Terran vessel Indomitable Spirit. Your ships are disabled, but your crews are alive. You can repair your systems and leave. But first, you will take a message back to anyone who thinks human vessels are easy prey. She paused, letting her next words sink in. We are not prey. We are not weak. And we are not going to ask for permission anymore. The communication ended. The Indomitable Spirit jumped to FTL, leaving 3 disabled pirate ships drifting in space with sensor recordings that would soon spread throughout the underworld networks. The message spread faster than Earth anticipated. Within weeks, every criminal organization in the frontier had seen the recordings. The video showed everything: the deceptive merchant ship, the perfect ambush, the devastating speed of human weapons. Most dismissed it as fake or lucky, but more incidents followed. In the Kepler sector, Keltharian Patrol found a human mining colony and decided to assimilate it. The Hive sent a standard assimilation force: drones, bioweapons, neural integration systems. They had assimilated dozens of species this way. The process was efficient and unstoppable. The human colonists on Kepler 442b were ready. When the Keltharian drones landed, they found a population that had been warned, prepared, and armed. More importantly, they found a population that understood something the hive mind did not. Biological warfare could work both ways. The colonists released modified viruses, designed specifically to disrupt Keltharian neural networks. The viruses did not kill. They're confused. They scrambled the signals that let the hive mind coordinate its drones. Within hours, the assimilation force was stumbling around, disconnected from each other, unable to function as a collective. The hive withdrew in confusion, something it had not done in 10,000 years. More importantly, it started asking questions about these humans who could weaponize biology in ways that targeted, networked intelligence. Admiral Wanchik. You reviewed the reports from his command center in the hidden lunar facility. He was 60 years old, a career military officer who had helped plan humanity's shadow war. Every engagement had been carefully chosen. Every victory precisely calibrated to send a message. "They're starting to notice," his chief of staff said. Good Wanchek replied, "Let them notice. Let them wonder, but not too much." Not yet, the pattern continued. Human vessels appeared in dangerous sectors, seemingly reckless. When attacked, they revealed capabilities that should not exist. Pirates learned to avoid human ships. Raiders found human colonies to be deadly targets. Every few weeks another incident occurred. The galaxy's official response was dismissive. The Vern Empire issued statements about criminal elements and promised better security. The Keltharian hive claimed their withdrawal from Kepler 4 to be was strategic, not forced. The Luminarchs did not comment at all, considering the frontier incidents beneath their notice, but in private. Military analysts across the galaxy were reviewing the data. Human ships were faster than they should be. Human weapons hit harder than primitive technology allowed. Human tactical doctrine was unlike anything in galactic military databases. Some analysts recommended increased observation of human space. Others suggested that humanity had somehow stolen advanced technology. A few, very few, began to wonder if they had made a mistake dismissing humanity so completely. Lieutenant Wanwu Nam sat in a training facility on Mars, teaching a new generation of officers his doctrine of chaos protocols. The basic principle was simple: be unpredictable. Aliens had sophisticated tactical computers that could predict enemy movements based on logical analysis. Human combat doctrine was designed to be illogical. Change your attack pattern every engagement, he told his students. Use tactics that make no sense. Retreat when you are winning. Attack when you should run. Force their computers to recalculate constantly. By the time they figure out what you are doing, you have already done something else. It was working. Every engagement report showed the same pattern. Alien forces, whether pirates or military, could not adapt fast enough to human tactics. They were fighting an enemy that refused to follow the rules they understood. In year 6, the Luminarchs finally sent observers to human space. They arrived expecting to find primitive orbital defenses and limited manufacturing. They found defense platforms that surpassed their own designs. They found shipyards that could produce vessels at speeds that seemed impossible. They found weapons emplacements using energy principles the Luminarchs thought were only theoretical. The observers filed their reports and returned home. The Luminarchs, beings who had existed since the early universe, who had seen species rise and fall for billions of years, began to reconsider their assessment of humanity, but they did not share their concerns publicly. That would mean admitting they had been wrong. Ancient beings do not admit mistakes easily. Back on Earth, Ambassador Taeyong Kim prepared the second petition. It would be delivered soon, in the manner he had planned from the beginning. Not as a request, not as a plea, but as a statement of fact, accompanied by evidence that could not be ignored. The Grand Celestial Assembly had not held an emergency session in 3,000 years. The last time had been when the Vrin Empire and the Keltharian hive nearly went to war. That conflict had threatened to tear apart the galaxy. This emergency session was called for something the assembled species considered far less serious, but far more concerning, the human question. Ambassador. Taeyang Kim walked into the chamber 7 years after he had last stood there. He was older now, his hair completely gray, but his eyes were sharp and his step was confident. Behind him walked Admiral Won-shik Yu in full military dress and Counselor Seo Joan Park. A former fighter pilot who now represented Earth's unified government, Dr. Hannah Yoon, walked with them as well. Now holding the title of Minister of Xenological Affairs, the chamber was full. Every species that had laughed 7 years ago was present. Every representative who had dismissed humanity as primitive and worthless was there. The difference was the silence. No one was laughing now. The chief arbiter, still that floating geometric shape pulsing with light, spoke first. The coalition has called this session to address reports of human military activity in frontier sectors. There have been incidents. We require explanation. Thraxus stepped forward, his crystalline body somehow seeming less imposing than before. We have evidence that humans have been engaging in combat operations without authorization. We have evidence that human technology has advanced at rates that suggest theft of coalition designs. We demand that Earth submit to immediate inspection of all military and research facilities. Taeyang smiled. It was the smile of a man who had been waiting 7 years for this moment. Thank you for that opening, Representative Thraxus. Before we address your demands, perhaps we should review what happened the last time I stood in this chamber. He gestured and holographic displays filled the space above the assembly floor. Video began to play. Every species present watched themselves laugh at humanity. They watched Thraxus call humans children. They watched the Keltharians dismiss human neural architecture as inefficient. They watched the vote, 844 against 34. 7 years ago, Taeyang said, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. You laughed at us. You told us we were too primitive, too violent, too stupid, too divided. You gave us observer status and told us to come back in 1,000 years. You dismissed us as beneath your notice. He paused, letting the weight of memory settle on them all. Thank you for that. Thank you for underestimating us. Thank you for ignoring us. Thank you for giving us 7 years to work without interference. Dr. Hannah Yoon stepped forward. She activated her presentation, displaying data that made several species representatives lean forward in shock. You called our neural architecture inefficient. You were correct. Human brains are not optimized for pure calculation like Keltharian networks. But that inefficiency allows for something you have lost: creative problem solving. She showed brain scans, comparative analysis, problem-solving tests. In 7 years, human scientists have cured 3 diseases that you classified as incurable. We solved them by approaching the problems in ways your logic-optimized minds would never consider. We made intuitive leaps that no computer can calculate. Our inefficient brains are better at innovation than your perfect ones. The Keltharian representative spoke, its chorus of voices uncertain. This is unexpected. But disease research is not the same as military capability.
Admiral Won-shik, you step forward.
No, it is not. Shall we discuss military capability? He activated the combat recordings. The assembly watched the indomitable spirit dismantle 3 Vryn pirate ships in under 4 minutes. They watched human colonies repel Keltharian assimilation forces. They watched engagement after engagement where human forces demonstrated superiority over opponents that should have crushed them. Human tactical doctrine is built on unpredictability, Won-shik explained. Your species have spent millions of years perfecting your military strategies. You have optimal formations, efficient attack patterns, logical responses to every situation. We studied all of it. Then we ignored it. We showed tactical breakdowns. We do not fight the way you expect. We change our patterns constantly. We use tactics that make no sense by your standards. Your computers cannot predict us because we are not trying to be optimal. We are trying to be effective. Thraxus's voice boomed across the chamber, anger replacing his earlier confidence. You stole our technology. You reverse-engineered our designs. This is theft of intellectual property. Taeyang turned to face the Vryn representative. We purchased technology from you through legal trade. We studied it. We learned from it. Then we improved it. Is that not how progress works? Or have you been stagnant so long that you forgot what innovation looks like? He gestured, and another display appeared. This one showed technical specifications. Your plasma weapons are powerful but slow to charge. You optimized for maximum power. We optimized for rapid fire and adaptability. Your FTL drives are precise but inflexible. You perfected a design 3 million years ago. We built drives that can adapt to different gravitational conditions in real time. Your shields are strong but rigid. We built shields that redistribute energy based on incoming threats. It's impossible, Illuminarch said, its ancient voice filled with doubt. These designs require principles that are merely theoretical. It's theoretical to you, Dr. Hannah Yoon replied. We humans have a saying, if the theory works in practice, maybe the theory is wrong. We tested what you called impossible. It worked. We built it. Seo Joon Park spoke for the first time, his voice carrying the weight of someone who had flown combat missions. You asked how we advanced so quickly? The answer is simple. You stopped trying. Every species in this chamber reached a plateau and decided it was a peak. You perfected your technology and stopped innovating. You have been coasting on ancient achievements for so long that you forgot what it means to push boundaries. The chamber erupted in protests. Multiple species tried to speak at once. The chief arbiter called for order. Thraxus stepped forward, his crystalline body glowing brighter with anger. This is unacceptable. The Vrin Empire does not recognize human claims of superiority. If necessary, we will prove through force that ancient power exceeds primitive ambition. The threat hung in the air. Several species around the chamber showed signs of agreement. If humans needed to be reminded of their place, perhaps military action was justified. Wanchik smiled coldly. Is that a declaration of war, Representative Thraxus? It is a statement of reality, Thraxus replied. The Vrin Empire has 10,000 warships, millions of years of military tradition, weapons and defenses you cannot imagine. If you do not submit to inspection and oversight, we will force compliance. Taeyang nodded slowly. Admiral, I believe this is your moment. Wanchik activated a quantum transmission. Across the galaxy, in orbit around Earth, hidden human vessels received the signal. Stealth fields deactivated. On viewing screens throughout the chamber, representatives watched as 2,000 warships appeared in Earth's orbit. They had been there the entire time, hidden by technology the galaxy did not know humans possessed. Ships ranging from small destroyers to massive carriers that dwarfed anything in the Vrin fleet. All of them bearing the insignia of the Terran Defense Forces. But that was not all. Reports began flooding in from across the galaxy. At every human colony, around every human station, at every strategic point where humans had established presence, more ships, thousands more, all appearing simultaneously as stealth systems shut down. 7 years, Taeyang said into the shocked silence. We built all of this in 7 years. While you dismissed us, while you laughed, while you ignored us, we built a fleet that matches yours, Thraxus. We built defenses that rival yours. We built technology that surpasses ancient designs because we were not afraid to try new things. He turned to address the entire assembly. Humanity has come before you a second time, not to request membership, not to beg for recognition, but to inform you of a simple fact: we are your equals, whether you acknowledge it or not. We have the technology. We have the power. We have the will. The only question is whether the coalition will accept this peacefully, or whether we will be forced to prove our point through conflict no one wants. The chamber fell silent. Representatives looked at each other. They looked at the displays showing human fleets. They looked at the combat records showing human superiority. They looked at the species they had dismissed as primitive children, and saw something they had not expected. They saw equals, a representative from a smaller species. One that had voted for humanity 7 years ago spoke quietly. Perhaps we should vote again, the chief arbiter considered. The coalition must discuss this matter. Ambassador Kim, We will reassess for deliberation. You will have your answer within one rotation. Taeyong bowed slightly. We will wait, but not for long, and not forever. The human delegation left the chamber. As they walked through the corridors, other species representatives watched them pass, some with respect, some with fear, some with anger, but none with laughter. In private conference rooms across Nexus Prime, the real conversations began. The Vryn Empire wanted to reject humanity's demands, but they could not ignore those fleets. The vote took 3 full rotations. Behind closed doors, the ancient powers of the galaxy argued about what to do with humanity. The Vryn Empire pushed for rejection in military action. The Keltharian Hive advocated for conditional acceptance with heavy restrictions. The Luminarchs, for the first time in recorded history, were divided among themselves. But other voices spoke as well. Smaller species, who had watched humanity's rise with fascination, species who had been labeled primitive or inferior by the ancient powers, species who saw in humanity's success a possibility. They had never considered that the old order could change. When the vote came, it was closer than anyone expected. 424 species voted to grant humanity full membership. 423 voted against. 1 abstained. Humanity won by a single vote. Ambassador Taeyong Kim stood before the assembly as the chief arbiter announced the results. He did not smile. He did not celebrate. He simply nodded, as if this outcome had always been inevitable. The coalition recognizes Earth and all human territories as full members with equal voting rights and representation. The chief arbiter intoned, "This session is concluded." As the various species began to depart, Taeyong did something unexpected. He began to clap, slowly, deliberately, his hands coming together in rhythmic applause that echoed through the massive chamber. It was the same sound the galaxy had made 7 years ago. Laughter, mockery, dismissal. But now it came from human hands. And it carried a different message. We remember. We always remember. The message was clear to everyone who heard it. Humanity had not forgotten the great humiliation. They had used it. They had turned mockery into motivation, dismissal into determination. And now they were ensuring no one else would forget either. 3 months after the vote, the Vryn Empire made their move. Thraxis appeared on communication channels across the galaxy, addressing all coalition members. The Vryn Empire does not accept the legitimacy of humanity's membership. Their rapid advancement proves they stole technology. Their military buildup threatens galactic peace. We will take action to correct this mistake. The Vryn fleet mobilized. 10,000 warships accumulated over 3 million years of empire building. They moved toward the Crimson Nebula, a strategic location near human space where conflict would be away from major population centers, but close enough to send a message. Fleet, Admiral Myung Kong. The former test pilot, who had pushed experimental fighters to their limits, now commanded the Terran Defense Forces. She received the intelligence reports and called her commanders to conference. "The Vryn are coming," she said simply. "They want to prove we do not belong in the coalition. They want to make an example of us." "How many ships do they have in the attack force?" a captain asked. 3,000. "They are leaving 7,000 to guard their territory. And how many are we deploying?" Myung smiled. 500. The room fell silent. Then one of the commanders laughed. "You are going to beat 3,000 Vryn warships with 500 of ours." "No," Myung replied. "We are going to make them surrender without destroying a single ship. We are going to show them that numbers do not matter when your enemy thinks in ways you cannot predict." The Battle of the Crimson Nebula became the most studied military engagement in galactic history. The Vryn fleet arrived in standard formation, massive dreadnoughts at the center, cruisers forming protective shells, fighters screening the flanks. 3 million years of tactical doctrine, perfected and proven in 1,000 wars. The human fleet arrived in no formation at all. Ships scattered across the battle space in patterns that made no strategic sense. Some flew in tight groups. Others went solo. A few appeared to be running away. The Vrin computers analyzed human positions and could not find any logic in them. That was the point. The Vrin opened fire first, its massive plasma batteries lighting up space. Human ships dodged with movements that seemed impossible, pulling turns that should have destroyed them. Vrin targeting systems, calibrated for millions of years of combat against predictable enemies, could not track targets that moved like humans flew. Human weapons fired back, but not at the targets Vrin shields were positioned to protect. They targeted communication arrays, sensor clusters, coordination nodes. Within minutes, the Vrin fleet was fighting blind and deaf, unable to coordinate the way their doctrine required. Then human ships began appearing and disappearing, using short-range FTL jumps in ways that Vrin computers said were impossible in combat conditions. One moment a human destroyer would be engaging a Vrin cruiser. The next moment, it would vanish and reappear behind a different target entirely. The Vrin fleet, designed for formation warfare and overwhelming firepower, could not adapt to an enemy that refused to fight in formations. Their ancient tactical computers kept calculating optimal responses to situations that changed faster than they could process. Myung watched from her flagship as her captains executed the plan. Status: Vrin fleet has lost 70% of communications. 40% of their sensors are offline. They cannot coordinate attacks. Multiple ships are firing on positions our ships left minutes ago. Casualties? Minimal. They have not hit us yet in any meaningful way. Myung opened a channel to the Vrin fleet commander. This is Fleet Admiral Myung Kong of the Terran Defense Forces. Your fleet is blind. Your coordination is broken. You are firing at ghosts. We have not destroyed a single one of your ships, but we could. We chose not to. This is your one chance to withdraw with honor. The Vrin commander did not respond immediately. His pride, the pride of an empire 3 million years old, struggled against the reality of his tactical displays. His fleet was not losing. It had already lost. Why have you not destroyed us? He asked finally. Because we do not want war, Myung replied. We want respect. We want recognition. But we will not beg for it. You came here to teach us a lesson. We taught you one instead. Withdraw now. Tell your empire what you learned. Tell them that humanity does not need to destroy our enemies to defeat them. The Vrin fleet withdrew. The Battle of the Crimson Nebula lasted for hours and ended with 0 casualties on either side. But it changed everything. Within days, the Vrin Emperor himself appeared before the Galactic Coalition. His crystalline form seemed somehow diminished as he spoke. The Vrin Empire recognizes human military capability. We accept their membership in the Coalition. We apologize for our dismissal of their potential. It was the first time the Vrin Empire had apologized to anyone in recorded history. But the changes did not stop there. Prime Minister Jae-won Choi, Jiwoo's younger sister who now led Earth's unified government, addressed the coalition with a proposal. The current structure of galactic civilization is built on assumptions that are no longer valid. Some species are not superior to others. Some civilizations are not more deserving of power than others. We propose a reformation. She outlined the Free Species Compact, an alternative framework that emphasized cooperation over hierarchy, technology sharing, mutual defense, equal representation regardless of age or advancement. Every species would have voice and vote based on contribution and participation. It's not ancient legacy. Over 200 species joined within the first month. Most were smaller powers who had been dominated by the ancient empires for millennia. But some were major players, who saw in humanity's proposal a chance to break free from stagnant power structures. The Galactic Coalition fractured, not through war, but through choice. The old order, where the Vrin and Luminarchs and ancient powers dictated policy, began to crumble as species found alternative paths to cooperation. The Luminarchs, those ancient beings who had dismissed humanity as too short-lived to matter, made one final attempt to preserve their authority. They approached Earth with an offer: join with the ancient powers. Help maintain stability. Keep the old ways alive. Ambassador Taeyong Kim, now serving as the Coalition's Secretary of Species Integration, met with the Luminarch delegation. You had your chance, he said simply. 7 years ago, you could have welcomed us as partners. You chose mockery instead. We do not need your approval anymore. We earned our place without it. We made a mistake, one of the Luminarchs admitted. We let our age make us arrogant. We thought longevity meant superiority. We were wrong. Yes, Taeyong agreed. You were. But that mistake taught us something valuable. It taught us that respect is not given. It is earned. It taught us that being underestimated is an advantage if you use it wisely. It taught us that change is possible even in a galaxy that has been stagnant for millions of years. He stood and gestured to the window. Where Earth hung in space, a blue marble surrounded by orbital platforms and shipyards. You want to know the real difference between humanity and the ancient powers? We remember what it is like to struggle. We remember what it is like to be dismissed. And because we remember, we will never do to others what you did to us. 10 years after the Great Humiliation, Ambassador Taeyong Kim stood once more in the Grand Celestial Assembly. But now, he stood at the speaker's podium, not in the supplicant's position. He was chairing the session, elected by the Reformed Coalition to lead them into a new era.